welcome to another exciting episode of the Jim Cornette Experience. I am Jim Cornette. We are cult casting, folks, to the millions and millions of followers in the cult of Cornette around the world. I'm back, baby. Today, the results of the Twitter vote. Should I stay or should I go? We're going to clash with Twitter today. Plus, questions from the cult of Cornette. Jeff Jarrett is being inducted in the Hall of Fame. Vince Russo has lied again. In other news, water is wet. And another school shooting in America, and nobody's surprised about that either. And President Fuckknuckle is tweeting while our country is invaded by a foreign adversary. We got so much to talk about today. Joining me on the program to dissect and disseminate all this information, he is the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. He's Mr. Co-host to you. He's the post office playboy. He's Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion. He's the... I don't know what the fuck else he is. He's the great Brian Last.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again for the dissection and dissemination of whatever it is that you said at the top of the show here.
Yes, because we're going to disseminate, and we're going to possibly even inseminate. So we're going to plant some seeds here today of some ideas on how we can all help basically get out of this fucking mess that we're in. But I guess the big news is we'll start off, as we talked about last week. I've been off of Twitter because Twitter, the tool of the Russians to destroy our democracy. Twitter, the tool of the Republicans and Trump to lie to the American people. Twitter, an organization that defends the rights of people who eat fucking dogs, banned me because I gave my thoughts on what should happen to those people that eat those dogs. And basically, they didn't block the only guy in the world who can actually really bomb Korea, but they blocked me for saying he ought to because they eat fucking dogs. So we talked about that last week, and we put it out there for the cult of Cornette, right? JC keep Twitter or JC quit Twitter. And I was going to be happy with it either way because I have had a lot more free time. And also because, you know, when I'm mad at people, I do tend to hold a grudge. So whichever way it went, I was going to be fine with it. But overwhelmingly, apparently, the cult of Cornette wants me to stay on Twitter because, and this was the reason given most often, don't leave us here alone with these fucking people. We need somebody to say some shit about these fucking morons that populate actually our country here in the United States and the world these days. So because of that, they shamed me is what they did, Brian. They shamed me because they said, Cornette, if you leave and we don't have some entertainment in this den of iniquity and sea of fools, it was going to negatively impact their lives. And they got, because I'm a compassionate guy, you know this, and they got me in my heart. I can't leave the cult of Cornette followers alone with stupid people on Twitter. So I'm staying.
It was overwhelming, the response. Everyone basically said the same thing. Stay on Twitter. It was like Flair at Starrcade 83. You really didn't know, but you kind of knew he was walking out with the belt. And yes, welcome back to Twitter and social media. And I did hear from a lot of people who said the same thing. Don't leave us here alone. Like somehow you've become their representative to the world.
So I will stay to provide the balance between my truth bombs and other people's bullshit until such and such time, I guess, as they get mad at me again for expressing an honest opinion. I don't know. But meanwhile, and I found out something also because some idiot just in the last day or so, I don't even know if it's an idiot because I don't think it's a person, is that when they're the Russian bots or the bots that you put the program in, there's not an actual person. It's like one person doing a bunch of accounts, right?
That's one way, yes.
Okay, but whatever, because nobody can actually be this stupid and be this contrary to when somebody tweets something about the school shoot. Well, if it had more guns, or, you know, just any stupid comment in opposition to what somebody has tweeted. I found out that because some guy tweeted something about the gun thing. He's tweeted 2,974 times. He's following nobody, and he has one follower. That looks suspicious to me.
Yeah, a bit.
So I put it in the box on the Twitter machine, And I said, here, this is an example of what one of these Russian bots looks like. Hello, Boris. Now see, all you people, what Russia wants you to think. They want you to fucking not have gun control. This is what Russia wants. Because I found out from somebody else, if it has a name followed by some random numbers, apparently you can, it's not somebody's birth date or whatever. It's that you can have a program that will do this, but it will generate the numbers after the name and whatever. So that's one way you can tell when they're fake. But also, if it's just somebody saying something really stupid, in opposition of what you have just said that's, halfway sensible, then it's a bot of some description, because Russia wants you to think that Trump is actually doing a good job. And Russia doesn't want us to have gun control. So more of us will get shot and save the problem for them, save their ammunition. We'll shoot each other. It's the old Twilight Zone episode, right? Where there's the fucking Martians on the hill. The monsters are due on Maple Street. All they did was plant the seeds and then let them all fucking shoot and kill each other. And they're up on top of the hill going, and we'll do this everywhere from one town to the next, one town to the next. And this is what we're doing, because we are doing this to ourselves, because we have put ourselves in a position. And we'll talk more about this later on in the program, because I'm going to try to do the Stewie Griffin compliment sandwich today, because there's going to be some heavy, serious shit, because I had a lot of problems with some of you people. So there's going to be some heavy, serious shit and some people having the piss taken out of themselves in a major way here today. So I'm going to also put in some lighthearted stuff, some emails from the cult listeners, some questions and things, and so that we can have some entertainment and it won't just be vituperative hatred and vitriol spread out toward people. So, with that being said, have you watched Soundbreaking on PBS?
I haven't.
You, of all people, everybody's got to watch Soundbreaking. The program is Soundbreaking. It's now, I guess it's a new series on PBS, public television. That's something else that Trump and them will get rid of eventually to keep people from getting smartened up. But it is a history of recorded music. And George Martin, the Beatles producer, he has a heavy hand in it. He's credited as a producer and et cetera. And they're focusing. It's not chronological, but they tell some great stories from the time where recorded music was basically a band or an orchestra or whatever playing into the horn in the Edison days and being, encrypted directly onto the cylindrical record, all the way through. Then recording tape becomes a thing, and then the quarter track or the 4-track recording, and then the multiple tracks all the way to today's auto-tune. And they have George Martin in his day in the studio with the Beatles, archival footage and other great producers. And then Rick Rubin has done some sit-down talking head stuff for him. And I've seen 3 episodes so far, and it's fascinating. It's rare footage. If you're a nerd about the music business like I am, I think you are, you see how they were able to innovate and create and do all these things. So that's a great television program to watch that does, and once again here, I found this out too. I'm plugging a public broadcasting system documentary series that everybody is cool and everybody can learn something from. And fucking the Archbishop of Talentberry on that fucking off-brand goddamn hoo-ha that he puts out, his favorite TV show, guess what it is?
I have no idea.
Teen Mom. Not only does he watch Teen Mom and talk about it in public, he actually has guests on that talk about Teen Mom. So I guess it's a difference in the listeners and the intelligence level of same that we're plugging public broadcasting shows over here and idiots plugging Teen Mom. More about him later on in the program. Also, have you told the folks about how YouTube has just exploded with what we've been doing lately and adding so much content and et cetera?
The YouTube has been on fire. And the fire is just going to get bigger and bigger until it burns everything.
Somebody said something about fired up.
That's the worst Tommy Rich I've ever heard.
I don't want to ruin my throat.
I've heard you do better than that.
I don't want to ruin my throat. We're starting the show.
Okay. Yes, but YouTube, tinyurl.com/cornyyoutube, the official playlist Jim Cornette Experience and Drive-Thru Audio Past and Present. If you have a question for the Drive-Thru, it's always a good idea to check the YouTube playlist first. It may have already been answered, but go there, and of course, an easy way to get there is to go to jimcornette.com and click the YouTube tab. At the top of the page, it takes you right to the playlist.
And you can subscribe to the thing too, so then it's easier from that point out.
Certainly, yes.
And also for the folks, just notes for the folks who have been asking, where can I get all of the uncut original Jim Cornette Experience episodes and the Drive-Thru? Because we're doing the Experience now for what's it been? My God, has it been? It's been almost 5 years now, and the Drive-Thru for quite a while. That is coming later on when both you and I, who have busy schedules, get a little bit more time. We may have to hire one of those interns, but then which one of us would be on TMZ for harassing the intern?
You.
Hey!
I'm a family man. I don't.
You didn't have to answer it that quick, though. Well, you could have hemmed and hawed and considered all options before you went to the obvious instead of just firing it right back out there.
He has a bloody suit on his wall. He has a bloody suit hanging on his wall. And he brags about it.
Anyway, for the people who've been asking, when are we going to see you in public, Jim Cornette? The answer to that question is March 9th through 11th in Lexington, Kentucky at LexCon, the Lexington Comic and Toy Convention at Rupp Arena, Lexington Center. It's the biggest show of the year in the state of Kentucky. Every March, we're over there having fun at the fun booth. Action figures, T-shirts, the $10 DVD sale, etc., all the wrestling merchandise, plus high-grade Silver Age comics, Marvels and DCs, and depends on what I got room to bring, what I have time to dig up, because I've brought some incredible toys there in the past, like mint condition 60s color forms, and sold an entire box of mint or very high grade condition of Disney Digest books there a couple of years ago, and some big little books and stuff. But anyway, there's going to be all kinds of stuff at my booth at LexCon, March 9th through 11th. If you can't be there live, you can still go to jimcornette.com for all the wrestling merchandise, and so many people are, and I encourage you to do so. And we do take American money. And I may at some point, I got to get time. I've got to start, because I've still got so many thousands of these comic books, and I can't take them nearly all to the shows. Sometimes I have people come over for if they're serious. I have people come over to the castle for special sales, but I might have to do something on the website with the comic books too, because there's just so many. I don't know if I'll live long enough to be able to muddle my way through selling all this stuff.
What would you consider the Silver Age of wrestling?
Oh my God. Well, probably about this. If you consider the golden age of wrestling to be when television first came in, because before that would have been probably they call. In comics, it's the Platinum Age, Pioneer Age, Golden Age, or no, Pioneer then Platinum, one or the other, Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age. So I think the Pioneer Age would be pre-TV. The Golden Age would be TV the first time in the early 50s. And then there was the period where the territories had to get established of the late 50s, early 60s. So maybe almost close, early 60s through mid-70s to be the Silver Age. I think wrestling Silver Age went farther, maybe to the 80s, and then because if comic book Silver Age is still valuable, but then Bronze Age just is not worth the paper it's printed on because everybody was collecting it. So maybe the Bronze Age came in the 90s when all this shit went to hell.
The 80s was the neon sign age.
Well, it depended on who you were. Some guys still that were over in the 80s didn't have neon signs around their necks.
Yeah, some guys were neon signs for a lot of different things.
Well, speaking of neon signs and advertising, why don't you advertise for the fine folks what's going on in the Arcadian Vanguard universe this week so that we can continue on from there?
Real quick, of course, Ron Fuller Studcast at fullerpod.com or on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and everywhere else. Breaking Kayfabe with Baldwin and Barry at BaldwinPod.com, also available at the same locations. And Scott Bowden's Kentucky Fried Wrestling at KFRPod.com or available everywhere else. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership.
Oh.
This week on the show, what a packed show we have this week. Listen to this lineup, Jim. Dan Farron in the co-host chair. We have Judge Richard Boner talking about working for Jim Crockett